What is going on, Chelsea fans? Thank you for heading over to our YouTube channel. Hey, this is a clip from the entire match review podcast we did. It's only a segment. The full pod is like an hour long, so it doesn't make sense to be on YouTube, but it's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere you listen to podcasts, link in the description. Go check it out. Again, link in the description, but we hope you enjoy this clip. Until next time, Chelsea fans, you know what to do. Keep the blue flag flying high.
Right. Look, it's obviously an area that we've all want to see improved upon. And the fact that, Chelsea are splashing the cash in a lot of attacking positions, I think a lot of fans have been a little concerned of like, hey, we still have some defensive issues. In comes old man Thiago Silva here to shore it up with his leadership and experience, which is good, but it still left a big hole in the goalkeeper section. So I think, Kepa was relatively unchallenged. I know Willy Caballero started some games, but Willie knows what Willie's role is. He's pushing 40 himself. Kepa came on a 7-year contract, 72 million, club record signing. He knows that Chelsea are kind of tied to him. So to bring in someone like Édouard Mendy, who is younger, especially the fact he's only been playing top flight football for 4 years, he's going to be hungry. He's been a starter. He doesn't want to come to Chelsea to sit on the bench. He's going to be here to get involved and play serious minutes and push Kepa. So from like my kind of the way I look at this, I think this is the perfect example, Cerebronè, in the sense that he's going to be hungry and ready to fight and want to prove himself in this league. If Kepa is good as we potentially think he is or can be, it'll be his opportunity to fight and show that competition. I think that's the best opportunity for us as Chelsea fans, having that competition in the goalkeeper role.
Yeah, I think that when you're coming up against a 70 million pound goalkeeper, and that's your competition, definitely it's going to put you on your heels, and you're going to work extra hard to remain number one, because obviously when he's coming in to be number one, at least at the start, before it's now decided whether Kepa should come back in as number one and all of that. So, and of course, Chelsea are not taking as much of a risk with him as they did with Kepa, because they're not splashing crazy money, compared to the Kepa one when they're a little bit desperate. That's why they had to pay that much and pay the. Because Athletic Club do not negotiate; they just tell you to pay the clause or walk out the door. So. Understand why Chelsea went all the way for Kepa at that time, and so far it hasn't yet worked out as it should have. So Mendy coming in is not as much of a risk, and he knows that. If you're competing with a 70 million goalkeeper, the reality is that the club would probably be rooting for the 70 million goalkeeper to actually succeed more, because at least you want to recoup what you paid, So that's something that he would be thinking about. But of course, if Chelsea are coming all out for him now, and it looks like they're very serious about him and all of that, then he knows that there's some faith in him, and he just has to repay that. It's a big opportunity for him, it's a big jump going from Rennes to Chelsea, because Rennes just qualified for for Champions League for the first time in their history. And he also came from a team that was in the second division in France. So it's a huge step for him in his career, and it's something that he probably wouldn't have even imagined 3, 4, 5 years ago. It's crazy to be playing for Chelsea in 2020. So for that reason, I think he will be very motivated. And of course, he's been through a lot of things in his life. He's been through a lot of hurdles. He's really fought against the tide and come out really strong. So I think that coming into Chelsea now, he's going to be very motivated to prove himself and to show that, of course, he must have seen things on social media. I saw them. I saw videos of his mistakes and all of that, and people mocking him. It's normal, and it always happens in England because fan culture there is just crazy. So, of course, fans from other clubs will try to mock you and all that. So he knows that he has to prove himself. He knows that he has to win the fans over really early, and of course he's up against 70 million goalkeeper, so it's a lot. But I think he's going to do well. I think he's going to. He's coming from the club that Peter Cech was signed from, so some familiarity along those lines. And coming to the Chelsea side, who historically have had players coming from France as well, and the likes of Essien and Drogba and all of that. So I think they're going to help him to settle in, and he's going to have a very, very good time in England.
It won't be difficult for him to get a lot of accolades from the supporters when he claims the first cross of the season. That will be all that supporters need to see initially to get excited about. It's going to be the shortest highlight clip reel ever posted to YouTube. But let's talk about him maybe more specifically as a player, because I think we talked about who he is and where he's kind of come from, the journey that he's taken. But I think beyond the highlight clips is where we want to kind of dive into a little bit more, Cerebronè. Yeah. So, beyond the fact that he is massive, 6'6", that he's got this incredible save percentage last season or past 3 seasons, 79%, there's also kind of his style of play. So I thought maybe we could do is we could break it down into strengths, like where is he strong currently? And then we can kind of go into maybe some of the other areas. But if you're talking about the 1 or 2 things that are going to excite people beyond his aerial performance and claiming crosses, what are the other things that Chelsea supporters should be excited about when it comes to Mendy?
Well, I think, first of all, the basic problem that Mendy had with Kepa, and I also have with Kepa, because Kepa was someone that I fully backed when Chelsea signed him. I was actually excited for Kepa, and I felt that he was going to have a fantastic time in England, and it was just going to be about how he settled and all of that. But so far, he has disappointed me a lot. And there was the first issue with Kepa was shot stopping. There's a thing with Kepa where every goal seems like an unsavable goal with Kepa in goal. It just feels like, he couldn't have done much about that. And I think that kind of masked the problems that he was bringing to the team for like over a year, because it was like he took the wrong step just before every shot. So it made every shot seem unreachable or something. But if you are taking the right, that's why sometimes you have goalkeepers who do not look spectacular when they're making saves. It's because of the work they do just before, the shot comes in, the extra step to the left or to the right or something. And I remember the Zaha goal where Kepa stepped to the right just before the shot was taken, and somehow it made the shot seem wild or something. It was a step to the other side would have made it easier for him. So I think that's something that Édouard Mendy kind of brings. He's a very good shot stopper. So at least when you are looking for the bare minimum that you'd expect from a goalkeeper, being able to save shots, that's something that Édouard Mendy does well. I have a little bit of a problem with his positioning sometimes, because he seems to position wrongly sometimes, but I think he more than makes up for it because of his reflexes. He has like really good reflexes, and he's very light on his feet. Like he tends to just throw himself into the air and just go after balls. So if you check his weight, he's about 10 kg lighter than Courtois, who is about the same height. Courtois is 1.99 meters, and Mendy is 1.97. Then you see the differences in their weight, and you know that Kepa is Mendy is more able to throw himself around at shots and all that, and he has sharper reflexes. So I think those reflexes kind of help him. So even when he doesn't position properly, he makes up for it with his reflexes and his ability to just throw himself at shots and all that. So shots, his saves don't look spectacular, but he does what is needed to avoid goals. So that's one of his strengths, I believe, his ability to stop shots. Also, his command of area. That's another area where I felt that Kepa was just he seemed pretty vocal when it came to Sarri, telling him that he wasn't coming off the pitch at that time. But in terms of controlling his area and really organizing, because yes, you want a defensive structure in front of the goalkeeper. You want that. You want everything to be organized in front of him. But you also want your goalkeeper to take charge of that penalty box, because there are certain things that the manager cannot account for with his defensive structure, and that's where the goalkeeper comes in. He commands his area. When he needs to scream at players and get them to concentrate or something, he does that. That's something that I feel that Mendy does very well. He commands his area pretty well. He is kind of vocal. I don't know if he's going to be a bit shy, in Chelsea, because you could get overwhelmed in that kind of team. You know that 4 years ago you just signed your first professional contract, and maybe you have a bit of imposter syndrome. You're wondering, what am I doing here? How am I at Chelsea and all of that? And you get overwhelmed. Hopefully that doesn't happen with him. But when he's settled and he feels like a part of the group, I believe that, that comes to the fore. Has that command of area to really, organize what's in front of him. And having Thiago Silva in front of him as well kind of helps, because that's someone who's also coming from France and has the experience. So that also matters. So that would help. And another thing I wanted to point out is his distribution. I mentioned it in the article that his launches have been pretty good. So when you compare that with what Kepa was doing, Kepa's distribution outside of the immediate surroundings in his own half, his distribution into the other half was actually pretty poor. And that's something that I feel that has gone under the radar a bit. His distribution has been pretty poor. His launches have not really hit. If you check, I think it's about just under 30%. And meanwhile, Mendy's is like almost twice that. So I think that's something that Mendy does well. When he launches, he finds, his teammates in the opposition half, and that can be very useful when you are trying to start attacks without actually building from the back. When you want to launch, I think that he's very good with distribution as well. So those are his other strengths apart from, of course, aerial ability.